Hey guys, how's it going? This is Natinator, and welcome back to your weekly dose of Creepypasta. We're finishing off the bug-watching mini-series today, so we'll have a quick thanks to all of the patrons on Patreon for their super support for the channel, and get right back in to finish this one off. Disciples Roll Call, Terrific Tiffany, Brilliant Backwards D-Dog, Blazing Backerpuff, and Totally Rad Teddy Dog. Thank you all. Now as always, turn out the lights, get comfortable, and let the story begin. I left the police station the following morning. I worried that if I had any more sightings that they couldn't substantiate, or if I had any more outbursts they couldn't account for, they'd have me committed. What would happen then? I'd be stuck in a small room for who knew how long, where nobody would take my sightings seriously, and where all the faces' apparitions would only serve to keep me there longer. Obviously, that wouldn't do. So I thanked the police for letting me stay the night, and resolved to set out on my own. It became apparent that if I were to stop this thing from pursuing me, I would have to do it alone. The first thing I had to do was determine whether the face truly had anything to do with C. Know thy enemy, right? I didn't have any clue as to what I would do afterward, but it seemed like a worthwhile first step. I'd gleaned C's last place of residence from his file, and figured I'd check it out for any clues. The address didn't list an apartment number, so I imagine he had rented a house or a room in one. I made my way across town to the address I remembered. The roads led me to a wooded residential area. Houses nice enough to suit any of my professors fit snugly between dense copses of trees, sunlight dappling their rooftops. It looked like the kind of place where I'd want to live. But then again, that slasher movie Halloween took a comparable neighborhood for its setting. Come to think of it, so did Nightmare on Elm Street, and Blue Velvet. Lost in thought, I almost wandered past the house on C's file. It was a comparatively simple one-story affair, with a small backyard that ran up to the tree line. It had no garage, but the empty driveway looked wide enough to park a car or two. A bold red "For Sale" sign poked from the ground near the mailbox like some weird flower. From the street, I could see bare walls and floors through the house's windows. What poor timing, I thought to myself. What could possibly be left there if its owner had cleared it out already? I swore under my breath. Then I thought, there's nobody home. Nobody coming home. And then, well, the one certain way not to find any clues is not to look. I looked around to ensure that there was nobody coming up or down the street. Then I headed for the backyard, where the trees would help conceal me. I tested the back door. It was locked. Several of the windows had also been secured. I tried the bathroom window last, as it was much higher off the ground than the others. Also, it appeared to be one that opened outward rather than upward, and thus would be a pain to try and enter. With some effort, I wedged my apartment key under it. I jimmied it around, hoping to pry the window open, when I heard something snap. I cursed, thinking my key had snapped, but it turned out that something on the window had given way. The window protruded at an angle, like that of a can lid improperly opened. It didn't make for a terribly wide entrance, but it would have to suffice. I wriggled my way through, nearly finding myself stuck when my shoulders, and then when my rear reached the frame. After a few minutes of undignified writhing, I tumbled through the window, landing hard on the linoleum of the bathroom floor. My body ached from the impact, but otherwise I felt fine. Since the house had a single story, it didn't take long to explore. One bathroom, one mudroom with laundry machines, a kitchen, something approximating a den, 2 small rooms, one with an empty closet. I began to think that breaking in was a pointless exercise, until I found the basement door. With no windows near the house's foundation visible from the outside, I hadn't counted on there being a basement, but there it was. I'd come too far not to explore it. The door opened onto a steep wooden stairwell, conspicuously lacking a banister. I flicked the light switch to my right, but nothing happened. The electric company must have cut the power to the house, I thought, since nobody lived there at the moment. It hadn't occurred to me to bring a flashlight, and I cursed my lack of foresight. Leaving the door open, however, admitted a bit of sunlight from upstairs. I estimated that it would help me see fairly well down there once I gave my eyes time to adjust. Granted, it was not the soundest of plans, but it was the only one at hand. Treading carefully, I followed the shaft of light down the stairs. The soles of my shoes sounded against the basement's concrete floor, but they didn't echo. At first, I found that odd. As I traveled further, however, it turned out that half of the basement had been finished. The floor covered in wall-to-wall carpeting, the insulated walls boarded over and painted. If I squinted, I could see the slats where the boards didn't quite line up. I imagined that someone lived down here at some point. Renting rooms or finished basements is common practice in college towns, after all. There was no furniture that I could see, but I could feel divots in the carpet that might have corresponded to a desk and a bed frame from some time ago. I dragged the heels of my shoes through the aging plush beneath my feet, hoping to locate something worth investigating. I caught myself on another indentation, but it was so deep and compacted that it pulled up some serious resistance and tripped me. I toppled over, crashing elbow first into the painted wall. Something snapped. I feared it was my arm, but I only felt a vague smarting when my elbow collided with the wood. Climbing to my feet, I turned around and discovered I'd punctured a deep hole in the boards. Shouldn't those have been insulated or reinforced? If they were a standard wall, I realized, but not if they covered a hiding place. I stuck my arm down the hole, half expecting to grab a handful of rat or scrape myself on a rusting nail. Instead, I touched something flat and solid. I clawed around until I could feel out its contours, then took hold of it and eased it through the hole. It looked like some kind of book. I thumbed through its pages, but it was too dark to read it where I stood. So I went back to the stairs, sat myself on the bottom step, where the light from above made the pages legible. It turned out to be a notebook. Each leaf in it had been filled, but I noticed a dramatic shift in penmanship. The first pages, while nothing calligraphic, were comparatively neat. As they progressed, however, the handwriting devolved into messy, frantic scrawl. Occasional punctures dotted the later pages, where the writer must have pressed his or her pen too forcefully. The entries seemed shorter toward the end as well, as if the writer had less and less time to record things, or else was growing bored with writing. I started at the beginning. It opened with a date and salutation. So I'd found a journal. Like most private journals, though, it didn't provide any context. I had no idea who this person was, or why I should care about him or her. Even so, it seemed likely that this journal had belonged to C. The first entry mentioned the excitement of leaving home to go to college, and wondering what his professors would be like. It also expressed some curiosity, or skepticism, about how one teaches how to teach. It looked to me like something C could have written. The entries detailed insipid, mundane happenings for longer than I cared to read. Like me, it seemed C didn't sleep well. Many entries spoke of long walks at night, and things he thought about while lying awake in bed. He didn't think anything profound either. Poor C. He seemed to have a terribly boring life. No wonder he took to voyeurism. I couldn't be bothered to read all the things he'd recorded, so I skimmed through the pages until I landed on one where his tone shifted from semi-interested recollection to something far different. May blank. I saw somebody outside for the first time when I was out walking tonight. At least, I think I did. It was hard to tell. I didn't talk to them or anything. At first, I saw a white flicker from the corner of my eye. I thought it was some kind of animal. It was gone when I turned to look. Later on, the same flicker came back. That's when I thought I spotted someone wearing all white, approaching one of the nearby houses. Probably a neighbor, returning from a late-night jog or something. Why bother wearing reflective colors like white if you're about to rob a house? Maybe I'll run into them sometime. It'd be nice to talk to somebody on my walks. May blank. Out walking tonight. I passed the person in white again. This time, he was by a different house. It looked like he'd paused there for a breather during his run. I thought really hard about saying hello. I know I should be more outgoing than I am, but it's hard to do, especially when you've been an introvert for so long. Anyway, I blew my chance. The person had moved on by the time I decided to introduce myself. Dang. But it's no big deal. It seems like nighttime adventures are part of his routine. I'll catch up with him eventually. Maybe we can be friends. May blank. I'm not sure I want to meet the guy in white anymore. When I set out tonight, I promised myself I'd extend a greeting, and I swore I'd follow through, until I ran into him. I spotted him, standing in someone's front yard. I thought he was stargazing at first, but when I came closer, I realized he was staring directly at the house. Not even at anything in particular. All the blinds were drawn, so there was nothing to look at. He was simply staring. It seemed like a better idea not to call attention to myself. What a strange person. I guess he wasn't hurting anybody though, so maybe I shouldn't judge, but still. June blank. I don't think he's a guy. I'm not even sure what he is. Tonight, I told myself I'd call the police if I found him staring at a different house. Well, I did. Thank goodness their blinds were down. But I blew my cover. The guy hadn't seen me coming, so I had that going for me. When I reached into my pocket for my cell phone, however, my elbow cracked really loudly. He heard it and turned around, and I'm sure he saw me. The thing is... Man, how do I say this? Turned doesn't seem like the right word. He kind of glided, like he wasn't touching the ground, and rotated on a single axis. And when he looked at me, he didn't much look like a guy. He didn't look like much of anything. I can't describe his face, because there was hardly anything to describe. Only the basics. Mouth, nose, eyes, nothing else. Maybe it was a mask. I don't know how else to explain his appearance. Although, that certainly doesn't explain how he moved. I ran home before I even thought of calling the police. I don't think I was followed. I left a report with the police over the phone. They'll catch him if he's up to no good. I hope they nab him soon. I'm too scared to go outside while he's still out there. June blank. No word about the masked man on the news. Looks like a night in for me. I'm not sure what I'll do. If I'm lucky, I'll find a good movie on TV. June blank. He found me. I was watching TV late at night with the landlord, since I guess he's had trouble sleeping too. We had the windows open to let in the air, so we didn't have the blinds closed. You could probably see us from the street. Damn it! I can't believe I overlooked that. During a commercial, I glanced at the window. I saw his face looking in at me. No features, all white. Even the eyes. I screamed as soon as I saw him, but when the landlord checked, he was gone. My landlord is calling the police this time. I didn't mention what the guy looked like. I only said that someone was peering in at us. Good thing I didn't go further. He might doubt my sanity. June blank. I've been reading the police logs in the local paper. Nothing like the guy in them. Not good. Pretty uneventful day. Remedial summer math classes as usual. My mind has been elsewhere, but I've been bringing home pretty good grades. Bought a steak for dinner tonight. Figured I could use something nice in my life for a change. Even if it's little more than a decent cut of meat. Postscript, 2:45 a.m. Blinds don't work anymore. Oh God. Oh God. I went to the bathroom a couple minutes ago. Left the light off because it would have blinded me. I pulled aside the blinds while I was waiting to finish, thinking maybe I'd see some fireflies. He was there instead, face against the screen, staring right at me. Scared shitless right now, partly from the shock, but mostly because I can't figure it out. How did he know I'd be there, in that room, at that moment? June blank. Spending the night at my parents' place upstate. We'll keep the blinds down at all hours. Postscript, 1:15 a.m. Why did I open them? I know why. Because I figured he couldn't be there. Because I kept the lights off as an extra security measure. Because the peace of mind would have done wonders for me. I was wrong. My bedroom here is on the second floor. Nothing to stand on or hold on to outside the windows. Thought that would be to my advantage. He was on the lawn when I first peeked outside, at the far edge by the street. I dropped the blinds right away. Then I thought I might be seeing things, or mistaking someone else out there for him. Second viewing, he was all the way across the lawn, standing at the base of the house, staring up at me. He must have made it there in the span of 2 seconds, and we have a big lawn. Lowered the blinds again, steadied my breath, parted a slat in the blinds with a finger, making space enough only for my eye, thinking I could spy on him from above and have a better look. And there he was, right there, an inch away from me, with only thin glass between us. My screams woke my parents. They didn't see anything when they checked outside. I'm sleeping on their floor tonight in a sleeping bag, like a pathetic 8-year-old who had a nightmare. But I admit, I feel a little safer here. Not that I'll sleep. Too much to think about. How did it find me? Who or what am I dealing with? June blank. Parents are no help. They think I'm overworked. Suggested I stay longer. Not happening. June blank. Fell asleep in the university library, near a window. Couldn't help it, too tired. Had this horrible dream where a huge moth landed beside me on the glass. Then the face burst out of it. The worst part, the face was there when I woke up, watching me, enjoying my fright, I think. Locked myself in a stall in the men's room. I'll leave in the morning. June blank. I'm afraid. Afraid to sleep. Afraid to go outside. Afraid to be near windows. Afraid to tell anyone about it because they'll think I'm out of my mind. Hell, maybe I am. Postscript, 3:30 a.m. Can't even piss in this house without thinking it's on the other side of the blinds. Once it catches sight of you, it won't ever leave you alone. Of this, I'm certain. I hope nobody else ever has to see it. July blank. I've been spending evenings at the coffee shop downtown, loading up on caffeine so I can stay up all night and sleep during the day. Never a big crowd, usually only me and the barista, but she lets me stay until closing time, and she closes late. Better to be up all night. The face has never been there in the daytime, that I know of. Fell asleep in the shop tonight. Had the exact same nightmare with the moth. No less terrifying. I woke up to another moth. It looked an awful lot like the one from my dreams. Soon, it fattened and split, and the face emerged from its ruined body. I think I wet myself. And then I woke up again, finding myself in the coffee shop, with the face staring in at me through the window. I took a taxi home. Wasn't chancing walking. No windows in my basement room, thank God. But what do I do? How do I make this stop? Postscript, 4 a.m. Been thinking about how the face entity works. Seems to be enjoying tormenting me. That much is obvious. But I think it's more complicated than that. It likes to watch me, but I think it enjoys watching me the most when I'm suffering. Similar to how cruel little kids like playing with flies after they've plucked the wings off of them. I feel like a bug in a jar that keeps being shaken, I don't know how long I can take this. Postscript, 4:30 a.m. Regarding the suffering part, I have another idea. There's a specific kind of suffering it wants from you. It wants to trap you in your nightmares. If I'm right, it explains the nested dreams, the identical nightmares. Maybe it only has the ability to induce a single type of nightmare. I don't know how it does this, or why me. July blank. I don't deserve this. Aren't I a good person? Or at least a good enough person? July blank. It's predatory in a way. Must be. But it's a random predator, prowling with no rhyme or reason, pursuing someone only if they catch its attention. July blank. This will end me. Nobody deserves this. August blank. I've been pretty good about hiding from it. I think. I don't leave the basement after dark if I can help it. I've taken to relieving myself in bottles at night, and emptying them in the bathroom during the day. The landlord has been kind. He brings me groceries when I need them. I bet he imagines I'm slaving away to term paper. No sightings to report since late July. August blank. It can come out of any dark place, even in the daytime. I thought I saw it in the pantry when I left the door open while cooking dinner. It wasn't there when I double-checked. Later, I spotted it at the top of the stairs when I was about to go to bed, hovering there, motionless, but it vanished once I turned on the lights. Maybe I imagined it. Whatever. Lights on all the time from here out. August blank. Lights seem to be working. No sightings in a week. August blank. Nothing this week either. The moth dream on occasion, perhaps a residual nightmare, since I've been through a lot. September blank. Starting to worry. What if it loses interest in me and goes after someone else? I have to warn the neighbors. I'll start with the ones who don't close their blinds at night. How to contact them? By phone? They'll probably hang up on me. Well, I'll think of something. I have to. The journal stopped after the September entry. A handful of blank pages near the end told me that C hadn't simply run out of space. The entries must have ceased following his arrest. Reading C's words left a leaden sensation in my stomach and an ashen taste in my mouth. I felt badly for him, imagining a broken loner, helpless and afraid, in this sad little basement. As his writing sunk in, though, I felt even worse for myself. I kept rereading the part about how the face could materialize in any dark setting, and how C vanquished it with light. I wondered whether the light actually drove it away, or whether it simply rendered the thing invisible. Light hadn't done much for me after all. If anything, that's what attracted the face's attention in the first place. Not that the dark felt any safer. The unlit basement felt less secure by the second. Where would I go next? If that thing had marked me already, it would go wherever I went. That was when I noticed the slant of light thinning on the open journal. It slimmed down to a tiny line and then disappeared. The door atop the stairs squealed as it closed. I hoped a breeze from the open bathroom was to blame, but it didn't matter. Blackness surrounded me. A blackness the face could emerge from at any moment. In a panic, I started crawling up the steps, groping my way forward in the dark. I could see the silhouette of the door outlined in faint yellow light. I pulled myself closer to it. Nothing could persuade me to look over my shoulder. One of the rough steps drove a splinter into my outstretched palm. I yelped, and before I could stop my own reflexes, I withdrew. I steadied myself before I could tumble down the stairs, but I ended up facing the other direction. I saw nothing. I tried to remain calm. If it were coming for me here, I told myself, it would have shown itself already. All I had to do was turn around and climb. Something soft and delicate fluttered from the darkness and landed on the back of my hand. I brushed it away. Then it perched on my shoulder. This time I swatted at it. It stuck fast to my fingers, batting its dusty wings wildly. I tried to rub it off against the stairs, resigning myself to another splinter. It wouldn't come off. I beat it against the wood, my panic rising. Its wings flapped more frantically with each futile blow. This is a distraction, I thought. It's hoping to distract me. I can't give in. I resumed my climb, attempting to smother the thing attached to my hand on each step. It didn't seem to work, but I neared the door nonetheless. At the top, I carefully raised myself to a stand, feeling about for the doorknob. Eventually, I caught hold of it. I twisted the knob and threw open the door. In near complete darkness, a pale figure waited on the other side, staring at me with wide, white eyes. I cried out and lost my balance. I toppled back. I could imagine the pain of those stairs against my spine, of the concrete floor against my skull. I awakened to find myself at the base of the stairs, with C's journal, open, draped over my chest. Light streamed down on me from the doorway above, precisely as I'd left it. My pulse raced, but my body felt uninjured. For a second, I felt the need to look around, to see whether the thing was out there, watching me. But I quashed the impulse. Clenching the journal in one hand, I bolted up the stairs. I wouldn't waste time scrambling through the window again. I unlocked the front door and let myself out. I didn't look back at the house. I couldn't. I simply ran, out of C's neighborhood, through the town center, past the point where my stamina faded. Ran until I found a bus stop where I could ride to the end of a line that would take me somewhere, anywhere, far away from the places I'd been. I've been on the road for quite a while now. I've traveled from New England to the Midwest, from the Great Lakes to the American deserts. I'll do temporary work to earn some food, or clothing money, or bus fare. I'll hitch rides to wherever people are willing to take me. It'd be a romantic life in a way, except that it finds a way to be wherever I am. Motel rooms, campgrounds, train cars, trucks. Anywhere there's a bit of shadow, it can come for me. It always does. I hope you never see it. Or rather, I hope it never sees you. But I think you'll be fine, because it hasn't finished with me yet. Far from it. If anything, it's only become more insistent, more ferocious. I'm beginning to think that it'll tail me until my last days. I won't be free until I'm dead. Then again, who says that needs to be a long way off?